Awesome. Well, good. Any last question or thought before we wrap up? We're Matt Smith, the clock goes fast, doesn't it? So
Does.
no. William, did you get and Matthew, do you guys get a couple of takeaways from the week? You've been kind of silent in the background so far.
Yeah, actually, I was looking up local magazines and stuff because I know my area is weird. There's a lot of places that are just hidden. Like there's a community center 2 blocks from me, just dead set in the middle of a residential area. So I was looking to see if there's any information there, but it's looking like I'm going to have to go there later today or probably tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there's no substitute. You know, Tom Peters years ago, and I think he stole it from Lockheed or something like that, called it MBWA, Management by Walking Around. There's just no substitute to walk in the front door of the community centers, walk in the front door of the big churches, walk in the front door of the elementary schools, walk into the local community stores and look at the bulletin board, look at the front desk, you know, ask the person at the desk what events they have coming up, whether they have a flyer with all their programming in it, how all that works. There's just no substitute for that. And oftentimes these organizations put the stuff on their website, but you don't really get much of a perspective without just walking in and seeing what's going on. And again, Matt Smith, it's back to my annoying habit of always taking a different route every time. But you just discover stuff you wouldn't discover otherwise. It's amazing how productive it is. And if nothing else, just get in the habit of stepping in, well, you know, talking to the person at the front desk at the elementary school, talking to the person at the front desk at the community centers. At the community centers, it tends to be a, you know, high school girl making minimum wage. At the school districts, it tends to be somebody who's been there for 25 years and is really the person that'll block or facilitate anything you do. And we have a tendency to underestimate that. We think the principal is the important one. Really, is the gatekeeper at the front door that knows everybody, knows everybody's name, and will either be excited to see you or will try to block you. William?
Yeah, this last meeting was the best that I've had for me because I picked up the most. Yeah. I don't know if my ears were more open, my mind was more open, but just the repetition of the information and then listening to some of the $1 million schools and having them explain what are some of the things that they do. And it all boiled down to, I believe, what Paul Pendergrass said is this shit works. Mm-hmm. As long as we follow it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
can we quote your quote on that?
Yeah,
that's Paul's quote.
That was going to quote your quote, which was Paul Pendergrass said.
Yeah,
it was this Paul. I was the one who said this shit works.
Oh, was it you that said
it? Was me.
Okay, Paul.
He's attributed to the wrong damn Paul. What the hell?
Wrong Paul.
They both look so much alike.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it was really amazing. You know, all of the processes that I really need to fill. Yeah. Right. It is literally training in martial arts, like training here with Martial Arts Wealth. So I gotta get to training. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm making it to the live meetings because I'm learning a whole lot more, not just from you guys and just the interaction and everyone asking questions and just that camaraderie of everyone, but also going out to to building those relationships, going out to lunch, going out to dinner, and just the communication that we have and just my eyes and my mind is just opened up. I feel like I absorbed a lot more this time than I have in the past. So that means that I'm ready.
Yeah.
And all the things that you guys have been telling us is the stuff that basically I need to do. But now I think I've been able to absorb enough to be able to put that into play, into action. So I'm putting together my action plan. I'm going to go out and I'm going to hang out with Jason this weekend. I'm going to work on some stuff with him. I'm connecting with Kinsey and where I'm going to kind of go over the process. And just doing it because it works. And when I try to veer off or I try to do something else and just focus on the marketing and relying on Facebook.
The wheel.
Yeah, that's it. So right now I'm plugging the holes in my bucket because that's what I have right now.
Yeah.
So wonderful meeting. I learned a ton from everyone. best meeting so far, and I really look forward to the future.
What would be a couple of things that were like a light bulb going off for you that was different this time?
So some of the things is really just stop procrastinating and implement. And some of the things that you have said is really make it simple. And sometimes I try to make things too complicated. And if I just go in there and put the time in to really understand and train and put these then I'll have the right questions to ask as well.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing is putting systems in place, not just for black belt leadership, but also for the enrollment meeting, even making that better and getting my percentages higher. And then having that training system in place as well, that kind of copies what I do with my testing cycles as well. So it's just repetition and cycling through, like you were talking about as well.
Yeah.
And then doing that also with my certified training program as well.
Yeah.
So more systemization, simplifying, and then more calls to action. And Paul also helped me out too with I was procrastinating putting some of my leadership things in place, but he's like, this is what I do. It's that simple. And then you reiterate, we already went through black belt leadership curriculum. I'm like, we did, and I'm all struggling. And then all of a sudden I'm like, then you go through it again. I'm like, oh, that's all I have to do. Why am I making it so hard?
Yeah. Well, that was my frustrations. It's like everybody complicates it. It's just like, do this.
Yeah. How come you haven't done your renewals? Well, I haven't got my leadership all worked out. No, just do it.
Which is, by the way, the reason we don't get newbies on that track to begin with, because then they'll take a year and do nothing.
Yeah, trying to put black belt curriculum together.
Well,
so thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and I'm so excited to see the progress that everybody's making here. Master Smith, we're going to have to be having the the $2 million a year and up schools before long, and then it's going to be the $5 million a year and up schools. And Paul, who has you have the right Paul this time, has freely admitted that he thought all this was bullshit until he's now he's one of them. And by the way, guys, our ongoing frustration is most of the industry thinks we're full of shit because we talk about the reality, and they for some reason think that we're making it up. So we always appreciate you going and finding somebody who's of quality, because I think we come across, Bob, an awful lot of not quality in the other kind of stuff that we get forced into doing.
Yeah, I mean, Paul would not be here had it not been for Jan.
Yeah. And he thought she was full of shit for what, 3 years, Paul?
It was about 3 years, yeah.
There you go.
And then I think didn't you at one of the meetings figure out how much that cost you?
No, that was Jan that learned how much it cost her. It was about 6 million or something like that. Her procrastinating.
You better figure up yours.
I don't want to.
No, my favorite story, Bob remembers that years ago, Sean Harvey in Orlando, and we had this small, it was a big conference table, but it was big oval conference table, almost like you'd see in Dr. Strangelove or something like that. And we saw him working a calculator, and he kept kind of like hitting himself and making faces, and we're having a conversation about something. And finally I stopped and said, Sean, what's going on over there? He goes, I realized, and his goal was to have a condo in Miami. He lives in Bermuda, was to have a condo in Miami and a Lamborghini. Mostly because he wanted the Lamborghini, and what the hell good does it do to have a Lamborghini in Bermuda? Right? And he said, I realized I cost myself the Lamborghini by not getting in on this. The first year I was in, my net profit went up $250,000, and I cost myself the Lamborghini. At the time, he wanted whatever the entry level is. Not that it's particularly cheap, $250,000 Lamborghini. He said, I realized I cost myself the Lamborghini by thinking about it for a year. But it was the funniest thing. I wish, Bob, we used to have it on video somewhere.
Somewhere.
We'll now replace it with Paul's video.
Well, last thing I wanted to say, it's really belief in what we do is huge. That's like the number one. But secondly is being able to convey that value to our students so they can stay and we can retain them. And it's a win-win. That's the only way we can help our students. And it's the only way that we're going to be able to grow and be successful as well. So it's a total win-win. So right now I'm in the process of putting all that together so I can share it and communicate that value to our parents so they want to be in the program and are asking and qualifying to be in those leadership programs.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to for me now at this point.
I love it. I love it.
On another note there, William, how's the baby doing?
Wonderful. Wonderful. He's 3
William,
months
Mr.
as of last
Mr.
week.
Mr. Grandpa William. Where's that gray beard? Get that beard.
I got a little bit going on right here. Got a little bit. Yeah, family's doing wonderful. They were out in Orlando. We went to Disney World before I went to Clearwater Beach.
Oh, good.
Hung out with you guys for a couple days. I went back and picked them up to fly home. It was a wonderful, memorable experience from family to my martial arts wealth family as well. So thank you very much.
You were coming over from Orlando. Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's kind of a nasty commute over. It seems like it shouldn't take long, and
it was 2.5 hours to get to you guys, an hour and a half at 7 a.m. to go home on Sunday.
Yeah. That's just like Colorado. You know, the ski areas are like an hour when there's no traffic, and they're like 3 hours when there's traffic.
Exactly.
So, you know, I'm 45 minutes from Keystone, or I'm 2.5 hours leaving Keystone if it's rush hour on ski traffic. Okay, on that note, we'll call it a day. Master Smith, Master.
Right. Thanks.
Give her my best,
Done.
William. Give her my best.
Absolutely, sir.
Give the baby a hug.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.